Supply and demand FVGs. That's a good one. Becoming more technical, mechanical in my trading and focusing more on risk management. I think that's a great idea. And Laura, you're gonna look into the blueprint videos. I'm glad. Yeah, they're I think they're pretty good. They're pretty helpful. Our trading style is a little bit different than I would say most traders out there that you'll see. Um, cool. Sunil, welcome. Okay. Now, so since I'm recording this now, let's hop right into it. I want to see what questions do you guys have? Feel free to ask me. We're here for like 30-minute session, and then so if you have any questions or you're stuck on something, you want me to look at something, this is this is the best time now. So go ahead. Like, what do you guys want to ask me? You guys can put it in the chat. I'll look at the chat right now. What is sentiment from the group about tomorrow? Oh, the sentiment for tomorrow. I don't know. I don't know yet. We'll see. Any questions? What do you guys have? You guys can unmute yourself. You can write it on the chat if you like. Feel free to do so. Can I look at SPY? Sure.
About something like the Department of Government Efficiency that he is creating, Doge, as people might recognize it. He initially tapped Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, and Vivek Ramaswamy, a multi-billionaire former presidential candidate.
Hey, babe, you can turn it down now, please.
Laura, there's a lot of background on your voice. Yeah, thank you. Okay, SPY. Let's take a look at SPY. Okay, let's take a look at SPY. Let's see how we're feeling about SPY tomorrow. Are you guys using any option flow screeners by any chance? You guys should use them. They're really, really helpful. I wouldn't cheap out on option flow screeners. I think that a lot of the stuff that we do is based on option flow data, and they're Greek. So
Which one do you use? Do you use Unusual Whales?
I use Market Chameleon.
Okay, Camille.
Yeah, there's a video on it on Market Chameleon. It's one of my favorite ones because it's very ER driven, and a lot of the swing trading that we do is based on ERs. Okay, let's take a look at Market Chameleon here. So I'm gonna look at SPY. I want to see also just like big orders, anything above 1 million, and see how SPY is looking at like. Yeah,
Do
use Market Chameleon, Elisa.
you, do,
There's a link.
do you have a video teaching us how to teaching us how to use the use it, and probably like a good setup for setting up the filters?
Yep, there is.
Okay.
I go over all the features that I like to use a lot. And they also have a certain free trial. So like there's no harm in trying it, and you can cancel it if you hate it or not. I just put a link on the meeting chat if you guys want to sign up for it. Like they have a free trial and if you guys like it, well feel free to use it. It's 99 a month. And if you hate it, well just don't use it, right? Just cancel it. Okay, so SPY overall, there's a lot. We see puts here into close, 590 puts. Where are we with SPY? We're at 597. Now, what I want to see when I see puts like this, okay, so this is multi-leg. You see here in the condition, it says multi-leg. This is cool, but these can be complex because they can be like vertical, they can be spreads, whatever that is. So I'm gonna look at just straight directional orders, so like naked orders, things like that. So I'm gonna change the trade condition type. Okay, so now the stories are way different. So lots and lots of calls into close, right? And the bet like pretty much near close. This is over $1 million in trade notional. But the best part, if you guys saw the post about I think I said here, pay attention to what the hell was it? Oh, where was it? I said something about notional value. Like you want to look at delta exposure, okay? And I think I posted some pictures here, but let's take a look at that. Always look at delta exposure, okay? And I like to look at exposures that are like like you could do 0.38 or higher, whether it's to the put side or to the call side. So there's a lot of heavy delta exposure on the upside. So it's very, very bullish. Like just on this order tier, right? Millions of dollars of SPY, very, very bullish. You can see here it's 9999. This is a 0.36, so I would consider this pretty weak. Sometimes you're going to see out of the money orders, whether it's calls or puts, but the delta is really, really low. And so that usually has a way layer that has like way less weight in about like the overall sentiment. Now I'm going to look at the 500K orders and anything above. So we do have some here. It's very, very bullish into close. Okay, let's take a look at tomorrow's expiration, which I think we're all excited for like the market to open because I'm tired. I don't like weekends anymore or holidays ever since trading. So most of the time, you're not going to see orders above 500. I think a good one is anywhere for between 100K or 250K. 50K orders are not very big. They don't really have a lot of weigh-in. Also, when it comes to SPY, there's things that you'll notice. We do have a call here for tomorrow at 597. So 597 could be a level of support. We can see even higher tomorrow. Let's see what else we have. During close, we'll look at 100K and above. So here we have pretty good delta, but overall it's pretty bullish, right? There's a big wall support at 598, one at 600, but there's also a put wall around 597. So maybe tomorrow we can see like maybe nothing. Maybe we see a flat day between that 597 and 598. That could be very possible. Okay.
Do you follow Phantom Prints at all? I'm signed up for a Phantom Print service, and I find that they work very well for support resistance. And then when it breaks a Phantom Print, usually I follow to the next Phantom Print for the next support or resistance on SPY and SPX.
I
Have you
don't
ever?
I don't use Phantom prints, Lori, so I wouldn't be able to tell you much about that.
Okay.
But if that works for you, I think that's awesome. Okay, let's take a look at January 22nd. What do we have here? So we do have a call support around 593, but we have a put wall around 596 and 598. So it's possible that we could see a rejection on Wednesday, when tomorrow's Tuesday, Wednesday at 20, possible that we could do that and have a wall at 593. Let's take a look at the 23rd. Looks like maybe like not a lot of action, honestly. Like I wouldn't really know what to make of this. I wouldn't even want to say that we can maybe have a bullish day because there's not enough orders, and 50K is not a lot either for being Thursday.
Does
Okay.
Market Camelon show dark pools?
Market Chameleon doesn't show dark pool at the moment.
Okay.
Friday, 595. So I think overall we're gonna be kind of be trending around this 595 area. So it could be 596, 597. Now this can change, right? Throughout the week, this data can change for sure. But this gives us kind of like a good idea, Lisa, to kind of answer your question, like, can we look at SPY? You can kind of get an idea of like where we are with the market, what's to be expected on Tuesday, what's expected to be. And a lot of this stuff is good to look at the weekend before market opens because data changes. The idea is just to give you like a probability band. Like, okay, here's what's to be expected. And then this way you're not guessing like, I think price is gonna go here. I think it can go here. Give yourself those markings so you can kind of see where it's at. All right, let's take a look at also Dextron. Let's see what Dextron has to say. So Gextron is this is our tool that we use inside TG Max. So this is not something that you guys will have access to, but this way you guys can give an idea. So right now we are sitting around this negative 2 billion overall net gamma exposure. So this isn't for SPY, this isn't like very directional at the moment. It's flat. For SPY to have a directional bias to the upside to the downside, you want to see either negative 3 billion and lower for downside or 3 billion and above for upside. So we may see some chop, and it actually might kind of aligns with what we're seeing here on the option flow order, right? So we're seeing just like kind of this flat stage at the moment. The other thing to note is that IV is decreasing on the way down for SPY. So this could be pretty bad, right? We can maybe hit an area of interest, maybe 600, maybe so around here, and then it loses interest, and then we start selling off back to maybe the 596, maybe even 590. It depends on what the data sheet says throughout the week, of course, but this kind of gives you an idea. Overall, we are just hovering over above gamma flip 0. Okay, so you can at the moment, market makers are behaving pretty bullish at the moment, and they're adding liquidity to the market. But if we dip below 596, then we could start seeing fireworks in the market. And there's a lot of heavy delta exposure. So this kind of also feeds into the thesis, like when there's too much delta exposure happening, market makers are going to have to either probably short more the underlying stock price so they can stay delta neutral. So like I said, it kind of, when I see stuff like this, when everything's kind of lining up between delta exposure, gamma exposure, the option flow screener, like it kind of makes sense that we may be stalling out unless there's some sort of news or something that happens, or there's option flow starts to increase on like either calls or shorts. I think we may see kind of like a flat week, to be honest. It's very possible. Okay. Does that answer your question, Yulisa? Cool. Any other questions? What else do you guys have for me?
So I'm curious, like the inauguration's on today. I also feel like there's a 20% pullback coming in 2025. Obviously we don't know when. What are your feelings as far as when we might see that 20% pullback because the market is so overblown in the mags, and they've been already pulling back, and money's rotating into IWM and into Dow.
Well, we have everything about the market is driven by EPS. So anything about a stock price is not about like we want to stay away from feeling. Like, so I don't want to feel or what I think. I want to know what earnings is going to look like. I want data, and then I want to see that happen in the option premium itself. Like when we're looking at the option flow or Gextron levels, like I want to see that this is leaning towards a bearish side. Right now, the last couple of weeks, we've been in a very bearish trend, and we were in very like high negative gamma level of exposure. So right now, the market's being bought up. Like it has to rubber band back, and that's what's happening as of right now. And also like all the mega caps like Meta, Apple, especially Apple. Let's take a look at Nvidia, Amazon. Like they've pulled back pretty significantly the last few weeks. And based on their earnings report, which you'll see that in the blueprint, like it's the companies are already, I believe, oversold. They need to be reevaluated to something that makes sense with their EPS. Their PE ratio needs to come back, needs to rebalance. So I'm not saying that I'm like I know when that's gonna happen, but right now the mega caps are gonna be pretty strong in my opinion for their Q1 earnings.
So do you think money's going to still continue to flow into IWM, which is so beat up, and the Dow, which is so beat up? Or do you think they're going to pull money back out of those two and put them back in the Mag 7? Because it's been what I've noticed is that the Mag 7 have driven the market, obviously. Um, and there's so many stocks that are still beaten up, and there's over 90 million small caps that have been that are good companies that have just been shorted into the ground. So, I mean, are we still watching for rotation to continue into those, or if they are, do you think like big money is going to go back and just rotate out of that and go back into the Mag 7? I mean, how do we know? Like, I guess what I'm asking is, how do I? It's like it happens so fast because the market's constantly changing. I'm struggling with the rotation factor. How can we get a better idea of where the money's going?
Um, it so you're like you're trying to be predictive about it, right? That's what it sounds like. And the thing is like we can't be predictive. We have to be reactive to the market.
Okay.
So you don't get too much into the idea of like, oh, it has to be this way or this is gonna happen, like because it's been so long. Like just be reactive, and I think you'll have less stress about it.
Okay.
Does that make
Okay.
sense?
That
Because it's
makes
not
sense. Yeah.
because when you try to be very proactive and make assumptions, be like it has to do this or I'm seeing this, it's like that can make trading pretty difficult and pretty stressful as it is already.
Well, the
So like
reason I
what
ask is I'm a leap type. I do leap options mostly, and I'm like I've already bought Johnson and Johnson out to December 16th, 2026. But so I tend to, find things when they find charts that I believe have been close to bottom, and then I buy leaps. And I don't
okay.
care if they go red because I have so much time, and there's no theta on them because I have so much time.
Well,
So
just look at their EPS, right? For example, like look at Johnson and Johnson. Like, okay, this coming quarter, which I don't know when that's gonna be. Here, what, on the 22nd?
yeah.
Like, just look at their EPS growth. Like, they're gonna have a worse quarter than the last quarter. So then you have to like be like, what's the EPS gonna be, and are they gonna beat it? So are they gonna be quarter over quarter? No. Are they gonna be year over year? I don't know. Let me see. Q4 2024 is 201. Q4 2023. No, it's actually even going to get worse. So I don't know if Johnson & Johnson is going to see, it could potentially see more downside because they're going down, not just in EPS growth, but that means also in revenue. So you got to analyze their EPS, and then you got to analyze their forward guidance, which is like they're expected to do good on Q1, Q2, Q3. Okay, but maybe at the moment it hasn't finished seeing more downside.
Gotcha.
The valuation of a stock is always dependent on their EPS, always. And
Okay.
so, for example, like let's take a look at Apple. Like I'm pretty bullish on Apple. It's gotten beaten down, but if you look at their EPS, it's like, oh, they're supposed to be at 2.35. That's going to be beat quarter over quarter for sure, and they're going to beat year over year for sure. Okay, but it's been beaten down, so this stock is undervalued at the moment. And when
Good. Okay, that makes sense because, like I said, I use monthly charts and then buy leaps and based on, and so that makes a little more sense why I stay red so long.
well, we buy leaps too all the time inside TG. Like we get
Okay.
leads too, but it's about figuring out like, and if you're super long in a position, that's okay. You could be red on it, but just make sure you have a hedging mechanism as well too. Do like delta hedging or a collar hedging style, so you can kind of offset the P&L of the position And if you're really, really long with Johnson& Johnson, you're like, I love this company, just use the difference and then add to your long position.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, that makes I didn't know, like I said, I'm here to learn. So earnings per share is something I didn't know that I should take into consideration. I just, like I said, I'm very technical trader and I watch the chart and I looked at Johnson& Johnson and I see downside to
Yeah.
about 137, but I
Hmm.
didn't see it much lower than that. But
Hmm.
and so I figured it was fine to start scaling into my leaps now, and even if it dropped, and because I got them when it was cheaper, it's bounced up since I bought them.
Hmm.
Actually green now. They started out red, but they're actually green now. But
Nice.
I'm just I see, like you said, I saw downside, but I got it when it was down there at the 140-ish. I bought them
Hmm.
when I thought looking at, like I said, looking at the charts and using the weekly and monthly, I went
Right.
ahead and started scaling in. But I know there's potential more downside, like I said, when I was going back on the monthly chart to like 137-ish. And
Yeah.
but I was willing to, like I said, I have so much time, I'll just buy more if it hits 137 because I feel like I got a good price at 140. So that's but I'm like I said, earnings per share makes sense. Maybe it would have been better to wait to buy, but I have so much time, I'm not worried.
Oh, the other thing too is like, in which you'll learn in the blueprint course is that stocks move in quarterly. Like they have quarterly movements. And so you have to, and it shows you in the blueprint too, like how to calculate for a given quarter, the expected
Mhm.
move. Because once it reaches a certain quarterly expected move, either to the top or to the bottom side, even though they do well, let's say earnings, they do really well, it doesn't mean that they're going to go higher. They can go lower. They can just drop because it's already met the expected move. So everything's about using probability. Like it's not just like we don't do a lot of technicals here in TG because technical is like it's like saying that price is predictable and it's not. Price is random, and but we want to use the option premiums to give us that probability, that math edge.
Okay.
By saying like, oh, there's a support zone here. It has to bounce here. No, it doesn't have to bounce there. It can go lower. If we just want to use like what the option premium is telling us and then also combine that with EPS, then you have a powerful duo. You have a powerful combo right there.
Okay.
But those are solid questions, though. Cool. Any other questions? I know that was a lot, guys. Did that make sense on how I was unpacking like J and J? Just type one if it made sense, two if it didn't make sense. Okay. Yeah, the market, it's a reactive game. Like when you're trading, it's it's like you're the sports player. Like it's you can have a plan, which is great, and everybody should go there with a plan, but you have to adjust and adapt really quickly. Things don't when things you have to have a different plan is ASAP if things are going against you. So be more you have to have the plan first, right? Which is use the option premiums and do the PE ratio comparison. But then you also have to be very reactive about it. Like, okay, it's just going my way or it's not going my way, and then cut it off or have something else to like hedge against it and so on.
What do you
Awesome.
what do you mostly trade, or do you trade a variety of stocks?
Yeah, I trade a variety of stocks. Like it depends. Like I have um there's different strategies. I have short-term strategy and I have a long-term strategy, which is like the leaps and the shares stuff. Um, but it
Okay.
could be a handful of stocks. It could be SPY, it could be the mega caps, it could be small caps, medium caps, as
Now,
long as it's set up.
when you're buying shares, are you buying for long term? Because when I buy shares, it's what's in my IRA. So that's something I plan to hold for a while. Um,
Mhm. I
and
think
like,
if you buy into, if you're looking for shares, like I'm holding on to MU. I think MU for the next couple of years is going to be great. It's not because I think and I feel, it's because it's based on the data that's being presented, right? So again, it goes back to their EPS growth, their annual growth. So it's all in that data. But I do also trade shares as well too. Like we traded UPST for through earnings because we knew that it was going to do well. And so and that one you can see great amount of return to, and we can go a little bit heavier because they're shares, you know? And
Gotcha.
so whether they're options or shares, you can make money both ways, right?
Right. Well, it's just some like I just shares are safer in my opinion because you 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 can wait for them to come back, and if you get in a bad option, it may never come back.
Yeah, that's true. You have to like be a little bit more proactive with options, depending, especially the shorter expirations. But with as long as you're buying solid companies like Apple, Nvidia, like yeah, they're gonna come back up. You don't really have to worry about that. Great questions though. Good question. Any
Okay.
other questions? We got another 10 minutes.
So of the Mag 7, I know you mentioned that you see Apple's got a, is is hit its trend line and also like you said EPS looks good.
Hmm.
What's your opinion on the other Mag 7? I personally like Google and Amazon, uh,
Hmm.
but I'm just not so sure about the others. What as far as EPS and earnings per share, I mean, I know Meta looks so expensive. It scares me that, but um, like, so what would you do right now to look at Meta to see if it was worth buying now at these high prices?
Same analysis. I would just say like, if you want to go meta long term, um, you could just look at their annual EPS, and then from a long term perspective, you're like, oh crap, like $600 is nothing. They're gonna be at 33 EPS by 2027, right?
Right.
That's
And
that's a much bigger EPS than where it's currently at of what is it, 22.67, right?
right.
So look at it that way if it's for long term.
Okay. And then what about and this is this information, where can we get this information? This EPS information
Oh, it's in
other
TradingView.
it's
You can look at
trading.
it. Yeah, I use Market Chameleon a lot for stuff like this too because like I can look at Meta here and I could just look at earnings. So I can just look at historical numbers like this. It's pretty good. It gives me like the average range that it did, how it opened, how it closed. But
Okay.
you could get all this information in TradingView too.
So in TradingView, if I was looking for it, because I've had TradingView a long time and I feel stupid now that I didn't know I could do that. Where do I find it?
Okay, when you click on select the ticker, you go down like it says like all the information here. There's earnings. You just click on more info.
Oh, the more info. There you go.
Yeah,
Okay, got it.
yeah,
Okay, thank you.
it's all right. Now you know. All right. Nino asked about Netflix. What about Netflix, Nino?
They
What
have
do you want to know?
earnings, I think, this week, if I'm not mistaken.
Netflix. I don't know anything about Netflix. I usually tend to stick with tickers or stocks that I get to know very well. I know this is like I only trade a handful of ERs because I know I've studied the companies so much that I know it, and those are the best ER trades. So that's one recommendation I would give everybody. Just stick to a handful of tickers that you're willing to learn for a while, for a long time, and then trade those through ER because then you'll feel more confident as well too. For Netflix, they seem like they're gonna have a bad earnings of 421. I don't know what their expected
Yeah.
move was for the quarter. Um, but they are supposed to beat quarter over quarter or year over year, which is good, and quarter over quarter not so much. So that's a little bit tricky. Um, they're gonna have growth later. So as long as their guidance doesn't lower, I think that would be okay. Um, we can take a look at their expected move as well too. Netflix was in the Mag 7, is controlling their sector. Netflix is the lead head honcho. I don't know about that. Okay, let's see. 21. Netflix, what do we got? So, okay, so like one thing that to note with deltas is that when they're the 50 deltas slightly leaning outside the money, especially on short term, it's leaning towards that side more. So in this case, it's a little bit out of the money on the bull call side, so it's a little bit more bullish in the 25 deltas all the way until 9:30. It's a big move for Netflix.
Netflix moves a lot. I've seen it dump on earnings, close to like 75, $80. So it can move a lot, even more than they expected. I've seen it.
This is a big move. So what I would recommend here, and I don't know because I don't know it, for me to become like either if you're very bullish, you could try a leap option so you don't have to get killed by IV and stuff, or you could do a strangle that's like 3 weeks out. I think that could work out too. Maybe like the 7th of February, and then you could just you got to make sure that the strikes that you pick have the same delta. That's the only thing with strangles. So they can offset each other. So 935, you can get 935 calls or 800 puts and 800 puts. I think that's a good strength. That's a good delta right there. Cool. Yes, please learn about the deltas. They are critical. Okay. They will save you. Um, no problem, Nino. Cool. 3 more minutes. Anybody else has another question for me?
Yeah, you mentioned strangle, and I don't. That's I've never done one, and so how does it does it have to stay between the 800 and 935 for you to make money, or how do they work?
Strangles work best when you have a big expected move. So like especially during earnings. So let's take a look at Netflix here. So we have Netflix here. Let's say, what did I say? A 9:30, 9:30 call, and then you want to get a put. You got to go long put, long call here, 800. Okay.
Yeah.
Did I do this correctly? So
Okay, so
here's what this looks like. Like it has to hit one of these strikes. Either it goes, wait, let me see. What did I say, guys? You guys remember what I
you said
said?
800 and 930. Those were the numbers you said.
800 and 9:30. Oh, okay, but I said
Like,
February
and you
7th.
said
There we
three
go.
weeks out, February 7th.
Yeah, so here you go. Like strangles work best when you have a big expected move and you have to get the same delta. Okay, that's the best thing. Because then the delta is going to offset the other one. So like if the puts go to crap, then your longs delta will make up for that. That's okay. But or if the vice versa, right? If the longs go down, then the deltas on the put side will make up for it. You'll come out either break even or like really green.
Well, what about buying now and the earnings are on the 20, their earnings are tomorrow, so we'd be buying on the day of earnings. What about IV Crush? Because even on February 7th, won't you get IV Crush?
You're the IV is way lower on those.
Okay.
Okay, so like that's why I picked out like 2 weeks out because the IV for next week for this coming week is going to be really. Oh, this is last close. It's going to be 79%. This is going to be like crazy high. So getting them out, it's going to be less than 100%. So that's pretty good. Yeah.
Okay.
So you can see here like the biggest con is if Netflix stays like flat, then that would hurt your contract with
Okay.
Strangle. So they have to pick a side, but that's why I like when you have big expected earnings, you could go Strangle because it's gonna pick a side.
Right, right. And Netflix usually does. Like I said, I've never played the ER on Netflix, but I've seen it do dramatic moves on earnings.
Yeah. All right, guys. Alex, I have one more question. Any other questions? If you guys have any other questions, well, nope.
But no, for now I'm good, but thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you for letting us come on and verbally ask. I don't, it's easier for me.
No, no problem. I appreciate it. All right, team. Well, in that case, I will let you guys be. And yeah, no problem, Lisa. Buy and sell volume indicator. So now that was so late. That was so late. But I'll answer your question. What about the buy and sell volume indicator? I don't know what that one is either.
Uh, we are checking the volumes that's showing as high volume, but it may be more selling happen. So sometimes we are unable to judge even high volume. It's a more selling happened.
Um, is this an indicator that I
Uh,
don't know about?
yeah, here in the same below volumes we can see separate buy and sell or up and down volume.
Oh, okay. Is this in the configuration that I don't know about?
I think I checked in this, it doesn't have that.
Oh, okay. I don't use that, but I do use the volume a lot to like determine whether we're picking up steam to the upside or to the downside. I don't get, I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're trying to ask about the buy and sell volume. Like, what's the
Yeah,
problem?
suppose here the volume it is showing as green at 23rd, 22nd, say here 22nd.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Suppose here the volume is red,
Mm-hmm.
uh, but it's not all selling happen. Some buy happen, push up happen. The
Mm-hmm.
price move little bit up and down. So on average, this is not all a sell volume, but volume is more, and the candle is showing as neutral direction. But if you see any separate volume which moved the price up and the volume which moved the price down,
Okay. So I think what you're trying to figure out is how do you know, let me know if I get this right, because I think this is what you're trying to ask is like, how do you know whether the candle and the volume is bullish or bearish, right? Is that what you're trying to figure out?
yes.
Right. So that is a good question. That's a complicated question to ask because you you got to look at, okay, so in this case, let me see if I can break this down. In this case for Netflix, this is daily time frame. So there's some things you got to analyze, right? Like you got to analyze the time frame, you got to analyze the current candlestick close, you got to analyze the previous one if this one didn't make sense. So in this case, like I'm looking at, oh, okay, it's an indecision candle, volume is high, but then the previous one we also got rejected, right? So what does that tell me at the moment? High selling pressure. That means it can't get above this 860. You see how the body opens near 860, but it closes on the day below it? That to me tells me that this is bearish. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it's complicated because I'm analyzing time frame, I'm analyzing volume, I'm analyzing levels, I'm analyzing also previous candlestick to be like to make sure that I'm kind of getting that confirmation where I'm going towards. So I don't look at the difference between. I know there's volume indicators that like tell you this is how many buyers and how many sellers were in that move. I'm sure that's helpful. I don't use it like that, but this is how I use volume and price action. Price action being the candlestick for that given time frame.
Yeah. Okay.
So, cool. All right. All right, guys. In that case, I'm gonna let you guys be, and I go hope you guys have a good
Are
holiday.
we are we gonna still do our meeting after this?
Yes, Lauren. Yes, we will have our call today.
Okay.
All right, team. Have a good one, guys. Thank you for joining.